What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Salty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. It is the last episode of 2023. We've made it to 35 different iterations of Salty Runback, and we're ready to close it all out and recap the year that we had here in Season 13, while also looking ahead a little bit to what's to come in 2024 and beyond. Welcome, everybody, and happy holidays to everyone who celebrates. My name is Grapes. I'm joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing tonight?
My friend, I'm doing very well today. I'm so excited because it's the last episode of season 1 of Salty Runback. How amazing is it that we have now made it basically a full year, 35 episodes. Salty Runback is old enough to run for president now.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, like this is I don't know. This podcast has really truly been special, and it's amazing to be at this point. And happy holidays to everyone that's watching, and to you as well, my friend. It's been a great year for us, I would say.
Yeah, what a ride it's been, man. Start of
It's been a ride.
2023
It's been a ride.
was very different than where we are now, both in terms of what the state of the league, our lives. You're about to move in a couple of weeks, which is crazy.
Man.
Things kind of all upside down at this point. And that's just kind of how League of Legends works these days. Like there's always things changing, and for 2024, for whatever ends up happening next, we'll be expecting a little bit more of that as well. This is, again, as we
not
said,
going anywhere. So
yeah.
I
was just about to
okay.
say,
Yeah. You can tell the people. Sorry,
of 2023. However, we will be back starting in the weeks or so leading up to the start of the NACL regular season, which I believe we got confirmation of starting on January 20th, or I believe at least that's when the LCS starts. And so around that week is when we're expecting the NACL to take place, or to start their first week of play. We don't have full confirmation on how that schedule looks like just yet, but of course we'll be there to update you guys all on it as it ends up coming out. And we have some exciting plans for our content in the lead up to the regular season, so you're not going to want to miss out on that.
Oh yeah, we've got some ideas. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Grapes, here's the real question: is our next episode of Salty Runback gonna be episode 36 or season 2, episode 1? Like, how are we gonna do this?
I know the Dive does like the seasons and they count the numbers, but I kind of like the idea of just keeping it going. We can get to episode like 400 one day, and it'll just
yeah. If we get to episode 400, then things are way better in NA than they look right now. That means that esports survived if we get to episode 400.
Yeah, that's true. If things stay the way they are right now, maybe we won't be at episode 400.
No, I like the optimism. Let's go with your version. We're gonna hit episode 400 one day. Yeah.
Like
all right, I'm down with that. I'm down with that.
Yeah. We can talk about it later if you have any other stronger opinions, but I kind of like the idea of keeping the tally up. If you have any suggestions, of course, let us know.
Yeah. What do the viewers think? Would you guys rather us be season 2 or episode 36?
Yeah, if the viewers have a strong opinion, they can let us know. Maybe we can change it. It will be, of course, the official start of season 2, or our next iteration of the Salty Runback episodes is. We're getting ready to run it all back once again. Make sure to stay tuned for our part 2. It is our holiday episode, so we have a little wish list of things that we're hoping happen in the NA developmental scene for next year. But without further ado, Hawk, let's start off with the first section of our show, which of course is the headlines. We start off with a topic that we probably should have talked about last week. We honestly kind of just completely
totally forgot about
this
last week.
But it's okay because we have an opportunity to talk about it now. It was maybe, I guess, leaked by Sheep Esports that NACL will be going to Fearless Draft form for the next season of play. And I believe people have also been talking about the fact that it will be best of 3 for this format, which I think makes sense. If you're fearless drafting just for 2 games, you're not necessarily losing out on too much. And so going all the way to a best of 3 maybe makes things a little bit more interesting. Hawk, what are your thoughts about fearless draft in this developmental league? There's been a lot of discourse about it. But from your perspective, is this a good or bad thing for this league?
So this is such an interesting conversation. And there was a lot of discourse. And so I received this very positively, as did I think most people, but I actually was kind of surprised that there were some people with like legitimate that were against this. And honestly, their concerns were like kind of valid, and I respect it. But to answer the question, I think this is great. I think this is amazing. And the reason being is that I think that this is going to draw more eyes to the North American Challengers League, and I think that's the most important thing, like, period, is that this is going to casual fans be exciting and interesting and different, and it's going to revamp this LoL esports ecosystem that we've known. Like, this could be the future, or it could not be, but it's going to be interesting either way, and I think that matters. And even though the Challengers League, we've had this conversation a lot, shouldn't exist for viewership, I think doing something like this that's going to draw more eyes is still a really, really good thing. There's other reasons I think this is good too, but that's like the big one. The other ones being, like, it just encourages players to play more champions. Rule of cool. It's just cool. It's just fun. Like, I just think it's interesting. Stuff like that I think is relevant as well. I also just think this does add a level of competitiveness. I know some of the arguments against it were that it is less competitive because of the way that Fearless Draft works. I am inclined to disagree. I think sometimes we can conflate competitiveness with being complete and total equality. There's nothing like uncompetitive about Fearless Draft. It's just unequal. And I think that is like a distinction that I would make there. If people don't feel that way, then I understand. But yeah, no, I think this is really cool, and I'm really excited to watch it because we aren't going to have really any other leagues that are doing this. So Challengers League is going to have something incredible, I think, and we're going to get to see it.
Just for the people listening at home that maybe aren't super familiar with what Fearless Draft is, I believe how it works, and Hawking, correct me on this if I'm wrong, is you have a series of games, whether it's 2, 3, or 5 games, depending on whatever it is. From what we've heard, NACL will be running best of 3s. After a champion is selected here by a team, it cannot be picked by either team for the remainder of the series. I'm not 100%. I think that's how it works, which allows for
it can't be picked by your team. So that's where some of like the competitiveness arguments have come in. Is like, for example, both teams can pick Wukong in the series, but one team can't pick it twice. If that makes sense. And obviously it can't be played in the same game because it's not blind pick. So
every team is going to have to play a unique champion in every game that they play.
Yes, exactly. So but their pools are exclusive from each other's. I think.
Right. Okay.
I think. I just looked up the article though, and I think that's what Cheap has here. So.
Okay. Yeah. Then that's kind of what we're running with, and it is something that has existed in developmental leagues in the past. I believe the LDL ran Fearless Draft for last year. I'm interested to see there probably are some metrics about this in viewership. I know Chinese viewership gets a little bit wonky in terms of the numbers that they end up putting out, but I wonder if more people actually ended up tuning into the LDL because of this Fearless Draft, and maybe that would be an interesting study to see if like this actually would work.
At least amongst Western fans, I know that I saw more conversation about the LDL with Fearless Draft than I had without it, because I had never seen conversation about the LDL. So, and for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure Nymera was pretty excited about NACL doing Fearless Draft, which he's really big in LPL, LDL. I think it was Nymera was like, oh, this is really cool. Or maybe it was Initialize. I don't know. One of those guys was like, oh, it's pretty cool that NACL is doing this, and they watch LDL. But
yeah. I think overall, I'm excited to see how it works. However, if I'm Riot or somebody looking at this and quickly we see like for some reason this format is not working, I would be very quick to kind of push the button to change things for the summer if it doesn't end up working out.
Yes.
I think Fearless Draft could bring some issues. First of all, the fact that it's best of 3 means we don't have that same even amount of games played by each team throughout the split where we've had over the past couple of splits, where you always have best of 2. Each team gets 1 game on each side of the map, so you get to even things out that way. And you have the opportunity to play like an equal amount of games and also just get like very consistent practice throughout each week. I think that's going to look a little bit different now that we of course have Fearless Draft and now best of series coming in. And I think a concern that people have had is that because this is a developmental league, things like basic wave mechanics and game mechanics like should be the main focus here for players that are trying to make their way into the LCS. And a lot of the times the best way to do that is by, kind of limiting your champion pool in a way, only playing certain things that you particularly are comfortable on, so you can focus on the more macro oriented parts of the game, and maybe being forced onto different champions would maybe limit that growth in a way. I wonder if it impacted the way that teams kind of built their rosters as well. Like, do you think someone like Shochi, who has like a really wide champion pool, or Minui, who has really wide champion pool in the bot lane, like had more eyes on them, or maybe got better offers because of that? Because that would create for some very interesting situations.
Yeah, I don't know. And NACL's never really had like a one trick problem or anything. So, some people were talking about that. Like that's definitely not part of the conversation. I do wonder if that raised the stock of a player like Shochi or Minui. I have no idea. I would guess no. And given that it's a developmental league, I think it's pretty well understood that the whole Fearless thing to me feels very experimental, and that's why they're doing it in Challengers League, not because it's going to be some like talent development secret sauce.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which again, like I'm generally in favor of. I have no issue with the Challengers League being used as that testing ground. I feel like pro sports leagues do that, right? Don't they test like rule changes in like minor league baseball and stuff?
Yeah.
And I think it makes sense. I would agree with you. I like the point of like if this for whatever reason seems like a terrible idea and is awful, we should axe it for summer, and not because, for as much as I say it's a good thing that hopefully more people will watch NACL and it'll be exciting, if it starts harming the NACL with how things have been, we need to not let it fester, and we need to make sure we get back on course if it doesn't work.
I have two quick questions for you before we move on to our next topic. First one is that if it works well in the NACL, do you think this is something that we should be excited to see in LCS potentially down the line?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why they're doing it. Personally, I don't think that they would be doing this if they didn't have intentions of trying to test it. Yeah.
And also, do you think that it should be a thing where Fearless Draft is implemented in the playoffs, for instance, or is it just a regular season thing? I personally might be of the opinion that if we're going to best of fives, we're going to playoffs, it's just be real drafting the way that it would be in the LCS. Because if you're preparing them for, playing these really hyper competitive series, you should try to emulate as close to what the higher level competitive environment would be for a playoff scenario.
That's so interesting because I actually disagree. I think playoffs and best of five series, the longer the series, the more effect that Fearless Draft has. So I think it is actually even more interesting in a best of five series. I mean, you're going to game 5. You have now at this point, 10 bans in the game, as well as each team will have essentially banned 20 more champions against themselves.
That's crazy.
Like, I think that's really interesting. And I think I don't think it's ill preparing you for the LCS. Yeah, you might be forced into suboptimal draft situations in a critical game, but I don't think there's anything about that that's not emulating the pressure. In fact, I think it even enhances the pressure of a game 5. Who has that pocket pick that can turn the tides of the series? I think that is actually incredibly compelling, especially. The thing I'll maybe give you is series metas have always been a thing over the course of our league watching. For example, 2016 SKT versus Rocks Tigers is infamous for misfortune support, right? And that defined that series. And that's the most notorious example of a series meta. But oh, and also, Bengi Nidalee game 5. Yeah, like that's the best example of a series meta. So that will kind of go away. So I guess that is a, something we're giving, but it also means that you don't have to deal with like, okay, it's game 5. We're going to first pick Vi. You guys are going to take Wukong Xayah, and then we're going to go Azir Braum, or like whatever.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think for like the playoffs, that's my opinion at least, is that it should be kind of more like the standard form, and then we could get that extra entertainment value maybe in the regular season. I personally think it would feel bad. Especially,
it's interesting.
I think it'd feel bad in a dev league. You're game 5 of the finals, and like you're trying to improve and things like that.
Game 5 in the finals, Dragoon Darius.
He would have played Darius earlier, you think, right? But
well, maybe
I don't know. I think it's an interesting conversation. We'll see what the final decision process is actually for the playoffs, because
I would be
I
surprised.
think they
I would
could
be
go either
surprised if
way.
playoffs was different,
All right,
personally, but we'll
that's
see.
fair. All right. Well, about not enough about the format. Let's get into some of the teams that'll be playing in the NACL because we actually have finally gotten some rosters leaked or announced in any which way. I believe a total of 6 out of 10 NACL rosters have either been announced by the official team or have been leaked in some capacity by one of the sheep or one of the Pokemon at this point. Um, that's not including a team like Maryville or Mirage Alliance, who we expect to keep some, if not all of their roster, or we have some idea of what their roster will look like for one reason or the other. But Hawk, out of the 6 teams that have been announced, we can get into the specific teams right now. It'll be TL Challengers, FlyQuest Challengers, Disguised, Wildcard, Supernova, and Lit. Are one of those teams going to be winning the league, or are you taking the rest of the field?
I'm just gonna keep it short and sweet. I don't have much to say on this topic. Unless the Licorice Spica team happens, yes, absolutely yes. Which obviously the Spica's going into streaming, so it's not gonna happen. But like, yeah, unless AOE is dropping like Licorice Stixay as their key players, there's no way, because really it's AOE and Fear that are the 2 teams we don't know yet. Everybody else we have a pretty good idea or has already been confirmed. And I mean, yeah, I think it's one of these teams. I think right now for me, there's a pretty clear favorite in Supernova, to be honest. Their roster is crazy. I mean, on paper, it's a top 3 player in every role based on the last couple splits of challengers. So that's where my expectation is. I'd be amazed if AOE or Fear could pull out something, again, on paper, that's stronger than that. Yeah.
Yeah, Supernova not trying to demote again, clearly. As
they are not fucking around with this one, man.
A much more stacked team for 2024 announced officially than they did last split. They have Faisal, Kenvi, Shochi, Array, and Diamond. And as you said, Hawk, just talent all throughout the board, both people that still have room to grow and people who have played on the biggest stages before. And I think that is definitely a very scary roster. I keep my eyes on 2 other teams in this category, but I do agree with you that I think the champion is one of these 6 teams. I think Supernova is a very strong competitor and very strong contender. Disguised with Tenacity, Perry, Young, Minui, and Poom, I think is a team that maybe people are sleeping on as not being necessarily as hype as that last team that
It's
like
pretty fucking
ran
hype.
through everyone. But I mean, they got 3 pieces from the 100 Thieves Next, which has been the defined most successful amateur organization of all time. They have Young, who is the reigning champion of the league, the only remaining champion still in the league at this point, and then Perry and Minui from that Fear team. I feel like
That's crazy.
overall, like I saw some negative comments about this roster, and I think that it doesn't make a lot of sense to me given their track record and how good all 5 of these players have been at this level. Like
anyone should
forget about
this Disguise roster is a dum-dum. I'm just gonna put that out there.
we forget how good Tenacity is at League of Legends. Right?
Yeah.
He had one mediocre split on 100 Thieves, and he got immediately like kind of kicked off, and he went to go do content or whatever. He was smashing Academy, even when he came back in spring to like fill in for Sniper for that 1 week before Darshan came in. Like he was destroying people. And I think Surdy has made big strides, of course, and he is going to be a contender for top laner in the league. But I mean, I tweeted this already, and Surdy saw it, and he responded a little bit. But I think Tenacity is going to be up there alongside Young. And the rest of that team.
I
So
think
I'm
Tenacity being in the league will be good for Surdy, actually, because dude, no, this Disguise roster. If you think this roster is gonna be bad, you don't know ball. Like Tenacity.
I don't think bad. I don't think people said bad. I think
if you think this, let me rephrase.
like,
if you think this
not as
Disguise roster is not going to be a contender for the championship, you don't know ball. Like, yeah, Tenacity going to be the best or the second best top laner in the league, probably. You've got Poom, who was, I don't know why people think Poom is bad just because he's played on some low tier LCS teams. This guy, after playing League for like a year, was playing in LCS and at a decent level. I've always thought actually very highly of Poom. I like the way he plays. Young is the mid lane future of North America right now. Like, it actually boggles my mind that anyone could not be hyped. Like, I think on paper, I like Supernova's roster a little bit more, but you know, I don't know. Disguise is still so stacked, dude. Like,
Yeah, I think it's those two, and I think
I'd
and it
agree.
is possible for I think it's possible for either TL or Fly to like kind of take a step, but they have a couple of question marks in each of their positions,
Fly,
some of which we'll talk about a little
if
bit later.
quad. Well, honestly, let's just move on to the third topic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think well, last thing I want to say
Okay.
is
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rest of
Yeah.
the field, um, as an option, I think is maybe a valid option because there are some decent free agents still on the table. And again, depending on how much
Yeah.
these
Which we'll
organizations are
also talk
going to
about
spend,
that too. Yeah.
like there's an opportunity to build like a very, very exciting team that could contend for the top. But right now, I think both you, Hawk, and I are pretty agreed upon that we have Disguised and Supernova absolutely in that top tier.
Yeah.
We can move on to topic number 3 now as we continue to talk about some of the roster decisions that have been made by some teams, specifically our LCS affiliates, Team Liquid Challengers and FlyQuest and Challengers, who made some interesting decisions that maybe not all of us were expecting here, Hawk. In terms of the mid lane role, which has been a long discussed topic here in the NA developmental scene, FlyQuest and Team Liquid both decided to import players from the Korean Challengers team scene instead of bringing in somebody who is native to North America. That being Roamer for Team Liquid and Quad for FlyQuest Challengers. Obviously, these two teams, being LCS organizations, I believe they're really the only organizations who have the pull to like get visas for players coming into other regions. So in terms of the ability for a roster to import a player, you're looking at these two as basically the only options. But Hawk, overall, are these two teams setting a bit of a bad precedent for importing players into the league instead of, bringing in our own talent?
So, Grapes, I know we're supposed to like really hype up NA talent and everything. But honestly, I have no issue with TL and Fly importing because we don't have the deepest mid pool here in North America. And I think like both these teams also have already taken chances on other like NA dev pieces in Sajed, and then we've also got like um Kim down. And I honestly, even Keel has a lot of
I think
experience, but
Keel
like I feel
counts.
like Keel is a player that Team Liquid is kind of trying to groom for the LCS, right? So um like when you look at it through that lens, I think it's honestly perfectly fine to import a cracked mid laner when I mean we're gonna talk about our hottest free agents here in a minute. There's not really many mids. I mean, like Harry is out there.
Yep.
And then, you know, you got guys like Kachu, Toasty Alex, exciting, but I feel like if I'm TLC or FlyC, I'm not like jumping out of my shoes to grab one of these guys necessarily. Um, you know, it's an interesting discussion, and I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts. But I really don't have an issue with this. Um, as long as again they put in resources, they develop this talent, and I think in
Yeah.
particular, the point I was going to make about FlyQuest is if Quad and Sajed work out, this team is crazy because we already know how good Surdy and Shaden can be together. They're definitely very, very high tier players in their respective roles, as well as
Yeah.
Chime. So, like, as long as these dev pieces work out, FlyQuest is like definitely a dark horse to win the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, Serdy Shaden, like, I think fair to
Yeah, this
say,
team's
like,
legit.
deserving of LCS spots. Like, they were going to be literally going
Surdy
to be
would
an
not be the
LCS.
worst top laner in the LCS if he was picked up today. Like, I'm just gonna say that.
And literally, Serdy Shaden, I think even Chime had, I think, spots on either Golden Guardians or Evil Geniuses going into the season, and those kind of fell apart because the teams disbanded and everything kind of fell upon itself.
Was Chime supposed to be
Um,
the EG support?
I don't remember for
I don't
I
think Chime had a
remember
team.
hearing
I don't think
something
Chime
like
had a team.
Chime was like looking for maybe a team and then like or maybe like didn't sign with a team like Shopify because maybe someone like Golden Guardians was gonna look at him or something. I don't remember 100% if that's factual or not, but all three of those 100% LCS worthy players.
Yeah.
That could be our little thing about FlyQuest challenges. But let's go back to the mid lane discussion for just a little bit because it is an interesting thing to look at. But honestly, I don't necessarily think the NA mid pool is weak. I think that the pipeline's actually utilized itself very well, and it's kind of at a position right now where because two of our top mid lane prospects or the top two mid laners in our system from last year in Insanity and APA, made their way into LCS and actually like promoted, and we have those people in the LCS. We don't necessarily have the people ready to fill those shoes. Now, I do think players like Young and Harry and even somebody like Shochi could have filled one of these mid lane spots. But honestly, I think if we're looking at it from another perspective, I much prefer Team Liquid and FlyQuest having Roamer and Quad on their challengers teams than on their LCS teams.
Bingo.
Because you look to some other
Yep.
LCS teams, Ignitas or even Immortals, bringing in kind of these Korean players from that haven't had too much experience in tier 1 straight to their LCS squad. And on the other side, you could totally see a situation, right, Hawk, where Team Liquid, oh, we're gonna try to keep the TLCK thing going on. Let's bring in Roamer to be our LCS mid laner. But instead, they trust the
Yeah.
piece in APA
Yeah.
that has kind of gone up with them, and they're gonna bring in Roamer as a piece that they think they like, and we'll see how they do in challenges first. And the same for FlyQuest. You bring in an established mid laner like Jensen, you see how Quad does, and maybe you can reevaluate later on. I don't necessarily think there are too many mid laners that are really kind of being robbed of a spot in this situation. Obviously, I think if you put some players that might be missing out on opportunities now that these two players are in, like they could perform well in the NACL, but they also could go back to the qualifiers, earn their way back up again, and that's kind of just how this pipeline ends up going. So overall, I think I'm in agreement with you. I'm not too upset with these two players being in, and honestly, if you're going to import, I think importing into the mid lane here for these two teams makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think it's definitely, I agree. They're not taking the spots of like APA and Insanity, who have already promoted, which is super good. I think that was really, you hit the nail right there. They've imported players. I do think our mid pool is a little weak. It's like sometimes it can be overblown, but I think if you were going to pick a weakest role as far as like exciting talent is concerned in North America, I think it's mid. I'm not trying to like.
It kind of goes in waves, though, if you know what I mean. Like people were talking about last year how bot lane was super weak.
Yeah, well, all
And
those
now we
people are
have
cooked out of their minds. So
no.
no.
I think it's
You're
true
right.
in that
You're right. But and
like
it
people
changes.
grow and then they get promoted and then all of a sudden it's weak again and then
Yeah.
it becomes strong again and then they get promoted and then it
Right.
kind of goes like that.
And
When it's
I'm
down period,
I'm not trying to like talk down to any of the mids that are still in the Challengers League scene, but you talk about like, for example, we talk about players like Young and Shochi who are really exciting. They're on teams. They're gonna be fine. You know what I mean? I mean, Young is on a title contender, so is Shochi. Like they have our two favorite rosters, right? So those players are gonna be fine. So for the LCS teams, they're gonna use their import slot. I'm not super like out of mids that were remaining. I wouldn't have been super excited about any of them. I don't hate importing someone. They're not importing directly in the LCS, which I agree with you. I like a lot. And I think, I think it makes sense. I'm not against this. And we'll see what happens.
Yeah, not to mention as well, players, two very important players to this mid pool in NA were Spyrex and Copy last year. And
Yep.
Copy, unfortunately, due to some, just circumstances, won't be competing at least for the foreseeable future. And Spyrex now really playing top lane for Maryville. So those are two other mid laners that like could have filled those spots and I think would have deserved to fill those spots if not like kind of get a chance at LCS. And so with that happening, these pieces come in, and that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, and there's not like a a spicy CLOL mid laner that they could have tried to snipe or something either. I mean, it's like our top mid laners in CLOL right now are Sword, who has played in Challengers League, Dark Wings, who has played in Challengers League and is playing on Wildcard. You have like Getback, who's also playing in NACL right now. And then what, like who am I forgetting? Your Uncle Sam, I would not pick up. Love you, Martin, but he'll be there. He's a dev piece.
Yeah. I think Ole Miss can be playing in qual, so maybe Marty can shut us up a little bit.
Oh
down
yeah.
the line,
Oh, don't get me wrong. I fully expect to be proven wrong. Just like I think that TL and Fly are making a sound decision here, and I don't think like the main thing, I don't feel like someone is not getting a spot that deserved it because of these imports, and that's why it's fine. That's how I'm gonna sum up all my spots or my thoughts.
Here's how we can close this. There's always the initial thought to bring out the pitchforks as soon as you see X LCS organization is importing Korean player that you don't know the name of. We've seen players like Berserker have huge success here.
Yep.
And, you know, if you're going to take a flyer, that's like an opportunity to do so. I'm just happy that these teams are doing it maybe a little bit more responsibly than some of the other LCS teams that are in the area. And you
As
know,
long as someone is not ending up teamless, that should not be teamless. I think it is okay. And
I
they could be great.
think that I'm excited to watch how Romer and Quad do. And if they are very good, you know, providing extra practice and better players for these challengers players and qualifiers players to face off against, always a good thing. We've been rambling for a while. Let's move on
Yeah,
to
yeah,
topic
we're
number
taking a long
4.
time. We got to keep it
Uh,
going.
Out of the 6 announced, you know, rosters at this point, there's about 30 spots that have been locked down, at least semi-officially. There's a lot of free agents still on the market, though, Hawk. Who right now is the biggest name that you are praying, hoping gets signed to an organization here for 2024?
Biggest name, I'm gonna take the easy one because you always let me go first. It's Wixie. I mean, he
Yeah.
I think is a top 3 marksman in the region right now. That's still not just still available, but that has been available all off season. Honestly, I'm really surprised he's not already on a team. I'm not gonna lie. I'm shocked that like Minui and Spawn were picked up before Wixie was by Disguised and Team Liquid Challengers. So
Wow. Okay.
and that's not to say that those players aren't great. I think Wixie is a phenomenal marksman. So I'm really waiting for him to get on a team because that's a player that has impressed me pretty much every time I've watched him, I think.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that guy. I mean,
Yeah.
Wixie didn't get to play, I believe, in the summer split because Immortals, his old team, kind of went boom. And even
The
though
IMT
Immortals
tournament that we
challengers,
just did, Grapes, was like the first time we saw him play in North America in a while.
well, hold on, there was ACL where he
Oh,
was
you're right.
playing, and
Yeah,
we'll talk
he
about
okay, you're right.
more,
He played in ACL, but
with Peach Cats. So,
and was a
um,
finalist. So that just goes to show that the guy's cracked. Maybe that's
he's
the um
very good at the game here, and definitely deserves a spot. I would be incredibly surprised if Wixie does
if
not have a
Wixie doesn't
spot
have
in
a
an NACL.
team, that someone fucked up, man. Like there's no other way. The only valid reason would be that everyone was too poor to afford him and he decided like he can make more money doing something else. That's the only
That's fair.
valid reason.
Okay, I gotta go now. That was a pretty easy one
Yeah, I know. I took
for
the
you.
yeah.
Oh, can I go one in like every other role? Would that be like a fun thing to do? That's kind of a cop out answer, I guess. I'm gonna go
Take
with
stand.
Zamudo on wildcard right
Yeah,
now.
that's the other really big one, I
We didn't
think.
get to talk about it much, but Hawk, we were part of the Immortals Winter Showcase a couple of weeks ago. Zamudo kind of filled in for St. Louis. I said wildcard because that's the team that they're part of now. But the St. Louis core of Winnie, Darkwings, Aaron, and Doxa, and Zamudo was playing the top lane. He carried a ton of those games, man. Looked really good, and kind of just a testament to how good he's been over the last couple of years, whether it was on AOE, how good he looked in like Korean solo queue, and now back on the wildcard for last season. I'm very surprised he's not on a team. I think he's a very interesting piece, somebody who's very willing to kind of experiment and test the limits of how far you can go in the top lane. He'll try as hard as he damn can to like destroy his opponent in lane, and he does it a lot of the time. And I think he's a very exciting prospect that I think teams should be looking at.
I agree. Zamudo is. I mean, I think this player's on an LCS trajectory. We have a really strong top lane pool this split. Surdy, Faisal, Tenacity, Jenkins, Quacker, all announced on being teams. Zamudo has a real opportunity to prove that not only is he very good, I think this split, hoping he gets on a team, this is where Zamudo can prove that he is not just a very good top laner, but somebody that is one of the futures of the region. If he can look good against those kind of guys, that's going to be a big deal for him. I think Zamudo's just absolutely insane. Every time I watch him play, he's just electrifying. He's not afraid of picking carry matchups or, doing what the team needs him to do. And yeah, I hope to see him on a team. I don't really have much else to say on that front either. Zamudo is just so good, man.
A lot of other players kind of don't have teams as
I
well.
know, yeah. What
We didn't
Bradley,
get to talk about
Music,
yeah, we didn't get to talk about the jungle pool at all. I think that's where there's a ton of really good pieces. You mentioned music. Chad
Chad.
technically is part of Mirage Alliance, although in my head, I don't think
We're
Dardoch is
pretty
staying
sure
support.
Chad's gonna end up on a
So,
team.
yeah, I mean, he signed a
He
contract,
has
I
a
think, at some
contract. He
point.
said he did a
Um,
contract sign gift. So he's signed to
yeah,
somebody.
whoever has him, I'm gonna be very happy to have him. Will is somebody I think has a lot of
Yep.
promise. You know, had some highs and lows on AoE last year. We'll see if he like does the same thing as he's done the last 2 years and takes spring off and then play in summer to like focus on school. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe that's how he wants to go. And I think a name that people are forgetting about a little bit is Yukino. Yukino Cat
Yeah.
was on 100 Thieves last year and was really great. I think a top 5 MVP candidate, his first split in tier 2, and then just wasn't able to play in the summer split. He had a couple
Also,
games on
Dardoch's
Cold-Hearted.
knocking around, by the way. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know if he's
around
a
as
support
well.
or what, but
How much Champs Queue have you been watching, Hawk? Because Yukino has been smurfing some
has he
Champs Queue
been?
games
Hell yeah.
recently.
I've
Yeah.
not
Even
seen any Yukino games.
him and Munchie have been
Dude,
like
Munchie,
tearing
the
it up on
fucking
these
goat.
on
Oh,
these
we
like
love Munchie.
crazy picks. Like I think both of them have whipped out Rengar at some point, but I think Yukino specifically
Hell
very,
yeah,
very
man.
good. I have
Um,
my eye on him.
who else? Like Harry, we've talked about. Toasty Alex, we've talked about. Winsome, Lynx,
Yeah.
Breezy.
Is Winsome like allowed to be on a team? Oh yeah, Breezy 100%. I don't know what
Winsome's a resident, right? Or no?
I think so.
I don't think
But
he's an import, but I could be wrong.
yeah, no, he definitely counts as a resident. I don't know if it's like one of those like
Yeah.
counts as a resident, but like still would need a green card to play here or something like that. I think he has residency here, so theoretically someone could pick him up.
Well,
see.
I feel like if he had residency, then that means he would have a green card because that's what being a resident is like you're.
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
And now I'm actually curious. I'm looking it up.
I'm not 100% sure. Someone who knows better knowledge of immigration.
Yeah, his
law than me
residency is
could
NA. So Winsome could play, and I think he should. I think Winsome is definitely the hottest support on the market if he is available. He also might not be looking at NACL though.
Breezy's pretty good.
Breezy's good. Hey, Breezy's good. I think Winsome's better, but Breezy's very Don't get me wrong. Breezy's good.
Also got Prismal kind of hanging around. I don't know if he wants to play.
Is he
AD or
back?
bot,
Oh,
but
right. He
he
unretired.
did
Didn't
announce he kind of wanted to play, so we'll see. Either way, a lot of really strong
guys.
names.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys
available. I'm sure who are the rest of these 4 rosters. I think Maryville is going to stay pretty.
We probably know what to expect from Maryville, but I think Mirage is at least making a change or two, and AoE and Fear, we have no idea.
They're gonna have some good options to pick from. That is to say for sure.
Yeah.
Our last topic here of the headlines, as we've gone on for quite a little bit, is hyping up a couple of players from the ACL, the Aegis Champions League, as Winthrop University took down Peach Cats in a 5-game grand final. If you didn't check out ACL, make sure to give those guys some love. Aegis kept up our tier 3, kept up our amateur scene for the entire offseason and had a really great event. And at the end of the day, Hawk, it's Winthrop University taking home the crown once again. Man, they have looked impressive ever since kind of bouncing out of that promotion tournament, winning both the collegiate lands and now winning ACL, one of the biggest tournaments of the fall. Hawk, we're expecting Winthrop to play in the qualifiers for 2024. Are they your early favorites to promote into the league?
You know, it was over for ACL as soon as they voted Denethor as the only player from Winthrop to get into an All-Pro team, and he was like 3rd All-Pro top. Because Grapes, we learned what happens when you doubt mobility last split.
Or just any of Winthrop in general.
Yeah. Dude, this team. So when we were talking about free agents, I did not talk about Denethor Mobility, who are 2 players I think are at this level. Dude, these guys are studs. And the reason being is if they're not on team, it better be because Winthrop is about to fucking speed run the NACL qualifiers and promote, because this team is unreal right now. Trickster, I'm going to give you one of the most deserved. Shaquille O'Neal, I owe you an apology. I was not familiar with your game. Trickster has elevated this team so much more. Like, I always thought Trickster was good. Don't get me wrong. But Trickster has elevated this team so much more than I honestly thought he would. And I am, like, blown away. Winthrop, like, over the last few months, looks like the best team in North America. And I know that, like, not everyone's playing full strength, right? Like, not everyone was playing in ACL. But let's remember, these ACL teams were made up of, like, fucking NACL MVPs, dude. We're talking about how Wixie's like a top 3 marksman in North America. Keel is the reigning best jungler in challengers. Like, Peach Cats was disgustingly stacked.
He's playing LCS next year.
Yeah. Peach Cats was disgustingly stacked. In Winthrop, the only games that they lost in playoffs were the 2 games that they lost in finals to Peach Cats in a 5-game series. It's unreal. This team is on a warpath. I hope to see it continue. That's all I have to say. They're so good, and they've got some really really hype young players. Chucky's and sorry, well Chucky's too, but Denethor Mobility are the future of this region, man. I'm telling, like they're legit.
I remember going into like QFest and things like that. We were talking about, oh, Winthrop won. Wow, with all these stats.
Yeah, we were
rosters,
surprised.
Winthrop
We were
won.
surprised.
And it's like, and we thought, oh, because they had so much experience together, they played all the summer together. Like obviously they're gonna have the edge over these other collegiate teams. But then Hawk, they just kept winning and winning and winning,
Kept
and
fucking
even
winning. Yeah,
like obviously they've had the most experience out of any of these other teams, but it gets to a point where you're at the ACL finals. That's like 3 months of kind of playing together at this point. Like the existing synergy, like at that point, is not going to be a difference maker. It's just the way that they play. And I think a big reason people were talking about why Winthrop players weren't on those all-pro ballots were because of the fact that they just play so
they're
well
just
as a unit.
so good.
One
Yeah.
game, Denethor.
I mean, anyone can carry. Anyone can carry on that team.
Yeah, the other time it's Sword. Sometimes it's Mobility. Sometimes Trickster gets his hands on a Viego and pops off. Like
Winthrop totally fucked my prep for the IMT tournament because I had to give Hank like the crash course on like North America. Like he watches, but not like we do, right? And I was saying like I'm like, dude, this Winthrop team carry through their side lanes. Like Denethor Mobility, usually the guys that get it done. And then we come out and Sword and Trickster like 2v9 the game. It was unreal. Trickster slammed Viego against Kenvi and lived in that man's jungle. It was so disgusting. And I was like, okay, apparently they're all just like him. Yeah. I mean, it was wild.
And so, we've been talking about Winthrop being, like they'll be pretty good in the qualifiers, but I think, there will be some very stacked teams in the qualifiers. You mentioned some of the names that we're excited to hopefully get signed to a challengers team. There's going to be some players left out. There are going to be some stacked teams. I think Winthrop, honestly, the way that they're playing, the way Artemis has been coaching these guys, like they're going to be
the team
in the promotion tournament for sure.
Yeah.
I have them as the favorites even without knowing the other rosters at this point, because at this stage of my, analysis of Winthrop, I can't doubt them anymore because they just keep on kind of being successful.
Winthrop is absolutely the team to beat in promotion. I like in qualifiers. I don't see any other way. There's no roster that can come together on paper that I will like better than this team. And I think especially because I think a team like Ole Miss is going to be like a top 2, top 3 team. And
I think it's possible to maybe make a better roster on paper, but compared to
I don't know it depends on who's still I guess who's not on a team.
You get one of those all-star teams from those NACL players you talk about. You could argue maybe like
I mean if a bunch of really great players end up teamless, I guess we'll have to see what direction AOE and Fear go with their rosters. But
yeah, but no matter either way, like even if the rosters look stacked, like I would still kind of take Winthrop because of their track record and how well they've been able to play together. So that's my thoughts at least for now.
Winthrop is they're the team right now.
Pretty good.
It's very impressive. Yeah.
And a little bit of a preview potentially here for our part 2 as we spent a lot of time on our headlines, but now it's time to get into a little bit of our holiday wish list for 2024. It's the holiday season, and of course it's just about the time to write a little letter to good old Santa Claus and ask for some things that we want for this upcoming year. What we want for Christmas here in the NACL. And here at Salty Runback, Hawk, we have a bit of a holiday wish list to ask of things that we want to see in the developmental system for 2024. I think overall, we could say that 2023, a very solid year, given the circumstances of how everything ended up turning out. We made the most of it as a community and as a league, and had, I think, overall a very entertaining season of League of Legends to watch in the developmental pipeline. But it's always good to think bigger, Hawk. And so we have some recommendations and things that we hope and wish will come to fruition here for 2024.
Absolutely. We have what I think we have 7 things on our wish list. We're not too demanding. We're not too greedy. We don't need all the presents under the tree. We just need some good stuff. Because, look at these little faces. These little dreamers want to make it to 400 episodes, Grapes. You can't deny that from these little Christmas boys.
Is that a trumpet that you got?
That's a
for
trumpet.
Christmas?
My first trumpet that I got 11 years ago. I'm a trumpet player, for those that do not know.
We're all in the holiday spirit, and maybe just an excuse to show off some cute little baby pictures before we get started.
We're
But
so adorable.
these are the people you'll be upsetting, Santa.
Yeah,
If you,
yeah. I mean,
is Whoopley
we.
Santa in this situation? Because
How
he's
funny
like
would it be
the
if
person
we
who's in charge.
photo on the title slide, if we photoshopped Whipley's face over Santa here?
What could have been? The
Shout
content,
out to Whipley,
okay.
who well, we might try to have him back on the show once some announcements
He's
come
on
out.
vacation
He's
right
on vacation
now. I
right
hope
now.
he's
Yeah, enjoy your time.
yeah, but we got some things that we want Riot to maybe take a look at, and things that we hope can be a part of our ecosystem for 2024. Let's start off here with our first thing that we hope happens here, Hawk. Let's hope that the 10 teams that earn their spots in the summer split actually play in the summer split for the NACL. This is
Yep.
not a great pattern here, where every single time the teams that we expect to be in the league aren't necessarily the teams that are in the league for 2 splits in a row right now.
And this is a twofold issue, right? Because we had the whole incident with the LCS organizations after summer, but we've also, both splits also just had a team drop as well that promoted. So it was Team Tony Top in spring into summer, and then it was Evil Geniuses Challengers this past split that and then it was Team Fish Taco and Supernova that got the spots without promoting. Like, there's circumstances at play with that, but it would be nice if we could actually have 10 teams, and those are the 10 teams that are playing Grapes, and especially no fucking downsizing. If we downsize, I'm throwing hands, man.
I just want some stability.
Yes.
I just want things to kind of stay the same.
Yes.
I don't want anything to change too much. Our format doesn't have to change every split. If it works well, let's keep it rolling. Let's give our teams opportunities to compete if they earn their spot to play again. Obviously, all 10 of these organizations will be at risk of promotion or risk of relegation. And so if they earn their spot, whether it's through promotion or whether it's through kind of staying alive, we should hope that the system creates an opportunity for them to play again. And it might seem like a very basic ask for just the league to function the way that it is supposed to, but we haven't had that happen the last couple of splits. So it's the first thing on our wish list. Let's make sure everything stays nice and stable here for 2024.
Yes, please. No sadness this season. Let's have happiness, guys. Esports winter is happening so that we can have an esports spring. April showers bring May flowers.
Yeah. April's in spring, but that's okay.
We're gonna just go with it. Yeah.
Another thing on our wish list here for Dear Santa Claus, Hawk, we want some more effort from both the teams and from Riot themselves into sustainability through whether it's generating revenue streams or creating content, ways to create a very sustainable ecosystem here in developmental, because right now, not necessarily the case.
Yeah. On the Riot side, they already did some stuff last year that try to share some revenue with the teams. I want to see more of that. The NACL / Academy broadcast now for the last 2 years has been absolutely fantastic, and all the people involved in it have done a great job. I hope to see that trend continue and those people making great content. I think the biggest one for me is I would love if our teams could actually do some branding. Guys, I feel like some of us are writing our tweets with AI. We could do better than this.
Yeah, and not only just that, just being able to create, things that will keep fans interested in you, and rooting for you. I know a lot of the times in esports, teams or fans just end up rooting for like their favorite players and follow them whatever team they're going through. Obviously, that's a great system, but it doesn't necessarily work for everyone.
Dude.
If you're a fan, a lot of the time you want to root for a team, and the best way to create fan interest here for your organization is by creating content, by building a brand for yourself in some way. And obviously you're going to have to pay the salaries of the players that you are hiring to be on your team. Finding ways to do that will lead to an opportunity for things to be more sustainable, and hopefully be able to keep this challenger system going without everything kind of falling apart like it has in years past. So, and the closer we can get to being a sustainable ecosystem, the better. I hope we take some steps, both on the team side and on the administrative side, to get there.
And I want to add another point on the team content side as well. Like, even though it's not technically like in their interest and part of their job description, I think that the teams have just as much of an onus on themselves to promote their players' brands. And like they can do a lot with that. Like take the New York Giants. Tommy DeVito is like the most popular guy in New York right now, and he's just some
Uh-huh.
Italian dude. But that's because they made him.
Well,
They built his
hey,
brand. Like the Giants
no,
put in some legwork. They made content with him, and they've leaned into it. Like,
the
and it
story writes itself.
yeah,
But I
exactly.
mean,
Like it's great to
100%.
see. And so I think the teams, they have a lot of power to create content to get people interested in their brand, their players' brands, help push their own stories forward and not just exist and field a roster. And so yeah, there's so much room there, and I agree. That'll help with money and sustainability, and I agree. Let's also make sure we're not burning money as well. But
And we have to be realistic. Obviously, like it's not gonna happen overnight where like immediately teams are profitable because the
right.
viewer base that we have isn't that big. Things like that, sponsorships
But
aren't gonna
create
immediately
something
come through.
meaningful with the money. You
Yeah,
can.
if we can start
That's what
taking those
matters.
steps, that is the important thing. And I think we saw some teams in some parts, take those steps. Not all of them. And so if we can, our wish is that we continue to see some more of that here as we move on.
Yeah.
Into 2024. What's our next thing on our list, talk?
Influencers. We want more influencers in the North American Challengers League or the qualifiers. Disguised Toast. We've already sung his praises. And I won't I won't glaze Disguised Toast more on the mic, but I mean he did wonders for the NACL, and I think that more again, content creators bring eyeballs, they bring content, they bring money. They bring a lot of things, and I think it's just better for the league when they're involved.
Yeah, I mean we've seen in Valorant even like we have Charlie on our screen right now, but Moist even in like the tier 2 scene of Valorant put so many more eyeballs on the scene, and having co-streamers like Ludwig and Tarek watching tier 2 was something that Valorant had and NACL didn't have as much. I mean, obviously we had Toast, but the more we can get kind of people to really appreciate the ecosystem, I think would be a good way to kind of achieve that previous wish that we had, Hawk, which was to generate fan interest and create like a brand and sustainability for yourself. And even if there's not a situation like this guy's had to just immediately have an influencer team placed into the league, there's the qualifiers for a reason, man. Like if you want to be in the NACL and you have the money like
Just
that some of
promote
these people
Five Head,
do,
yeah.
you very much can build a roster that will promote into the NACL to put yourself in that situation.
We have yet to see a team successfully defend their spot in relegation, right? So, yeah, just promote, like, be better. Yeah, I just think this content creators do a lot for the space, and it would be great to see more of them involved, and to also not see them be turned away by the promotion barrier.
Yeah. No avenue into tier 1 maybe is something that might be turning some people away. I know that that's important for influencers at an extent, but if we can create the NACL and turn it into something that a lot of people have their eyes on, maybe that could be something that more influencers could be involved in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would just create a good system overall. What's our next thing on our list here, Hawk?
The international tournament that was leaked, I suppose, by the CBLOL, but dude, I'm so excited about the international tournament, the Americas tournament for Tier 2, Tier 2 Worlds between North America, LATAM, and CBLOL Academy. We want it to be a successful and well-run event, and we want it to get the spotlight that it deserves. This has the potential to really bring together 3 incredibly passionate fan bases and regions in a way around developmental players that we have never seen before. I think that this has the chance to be the single most important thing that's happened for Tier 2 esports in years if we do it correctly. Let's make it a great event and let's give it that care, because what I don't want is for Riot to just do it out of obligation or phone it in or sweep it under the rug. Like I feel like we kind of saw with CLOL this past year. They kind of just did it, without giving it much pomp and circumstance. I want to see this America's tournament really given the spotlight that it deserves.
And that's not just on the tournament organizers. That's on us as
Oh,
fans and us
absolutely.
as promoters.
I'm not trying to throw them under the bus, but
No, I'm not throwing us under the bus either. I'm saying that we gotta rep our boys as they go into battle. You know, Hawk, I know you have some conflict of interest right now, but I'm going full. I will be full
I
North America
look.
in this event. 1,000,000,000%.
I
I will take down anybody on our path. 4x4, I'm calling you out right now. Axeman, RMC, all y'all on the CBL English broadcast. Like, if you start hyping up some of your academy teams over there, you know, just remember, we're coming out on top in NA, and I hope that the rest of our fan base has that same sentiment, and really kind of rides behind him and makes this a really fun event.
look. I'm playing both sides, so I always come out on top. However,
Yeah, you are.
however, though, when the chips are down, NA, NACL against CBLOL Academy. Look, I cast CBLOL. I don't cast CBLOL Academy. Don't fire me,
Not
Riot
yet.
Brazil, but disguised all the way. You know, if it were disguised playing today against the CBLOL Academy team, I'm pulling for disguised.
I'm very interested to see what the format looks like here for an event like this. Like, does it happen before MSI, after MSI, like during MSI? And like,
I'm really
yeah,
curious.
like,
Or
we
is
have
it
no idea.
like at the end of the year? Who knows? I mean, because
Yeah,
I don't think we really got any information other than the fact that like it just would be a thing, and we have no
yeah.
idea what it looks like.
I hope we put some. I hope we have some fun with this. We have some
Yeah.
like some interregional battle between our tier 2 teams. Like, it'll
Also,
be fun.
Riot, you should hire your favorite caster that does both North American and Brazilian League of Legends.
Oh man, that's unfair.
And you should hire your favorite caster that creates great content and is my co-host and is the best guy ever. So, you know.
Dude, what if we get to like go to Brazil? That would be so sick.
So, yeah,
in
that would
person.
be sick. They had the CBLOL finals. We're gonna go off on the tangent. They had the CBLOL grand finals in Recife, between Pain and Loud, and 4x4 got flown down there because he's a Brazilian citizen, and it was a lot logistically easier. You know, they didn't have to worry about like visas and stuff like that. But our producer, Gachi, shout out Gachi, he was like, you know, guys, we got to get you guys down here next year. Like, if CBLOL English happens, Riot Brazil has expressed interest in bringing us down, so that would be pretty cool.
Okay.
It would also be really cool if we got to go somewhere for this tournament. That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah. Just another wish that we're gonna stick under the tree. Hopefully,
Yeah, that
and
would be
hope
like, dude, that would be like coming downstairs and seeing the giant box that you know is new Xbox. Like, if that's under the tree, oh, holy fuck! Like, I don't. But we're not expecting.
At our
Yeah.
What's our next wish here, Hawk? Let's see. What we want as well, not just for the NACL to succeed. We also want the qualifiers to succeed, and we want some very exciting NACL qualifiers rosters to make promotion a very exciting time of year, as it was for the last couple of splits, if we're being honest here. However, I think it's going to be a different scenario because, in my head, we don't really have any weak teams and challengers this year. We obviously don't have a ton of all the rosters announced, but I don't really see like a super weak roster that has been formed right now. And I think that there still is the opportunity to create some very exciting qualifier rosters. We already talked about Winthrop, but man, my wish is that we get a very exciting promotion season.
I agree. Also, I realized I lied about the 0% defending their spot rate. AoE did it. But yeah, I think the promotion tournament, like, it's kind of been both splits so far, like marred with like a little bit of drama, you know, like kind of collapsing teams. I would love if that didn't happen because I think the promotion tournament has the potential to be one of the most hype events of the year. And we saw a glimpse of that with both Supernova promotion and Lit promotion. Those were both amazing stories. So I think that there's room for the promotion tournament to be super exciting, and I agree with you. I would love a hot Winthrop or other team to come in and really challenge for a spot.
Yeah, I know Team Fish Taco, I believe, has expressed interest in making a team for 2024. They're gonna,
Yeah,
I hope, be at the top of the table as they have been, and you know they almost made they never promoted, but they did find their spot in the league in the summer split. You know that they're gonna want an opportunity to get right back in there for 2024. So I think that the pieces are there for this to be a very exciting promotion season, and I hope we have a very fun Challengers League qualifiers, you know, gauntlet to run through for these teams to get that opportunity because
Yeah.
There's definitely the ability for them to.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, promotion could be so fun, and I hope we got some hype. But Grapes, we got another thing on our wish list. I think this is our second to last one. We want CLOL 2024 to be the best CLOL of all time. Collegiate is getting stacked right now with talent. It's, I believe, already been announced that the top 8 will be back on LAN instead of just the top 4. Things
It's
already looking like they're turning up heads a little bit for CLOL.
it's not officially announced. They in the rulebook they said the dates for
Oh,
our
right,
TBD
right.
for top 8, top 4, and finals, which
That
in
you're
my
right.
head
Yeah.
means that like they will all be together at some place because
I mean, there's
they
no way
they
you're gonna
announced
play
the
top
dates.
8 and the same weekend as top 4 if you have to fly. You know.
Well, they said TBD, so there is a world where like top 8 happens like remote or whatever, and then they just haven't announced that being the case yet. But
Maybe, but
it seems by the way that that was structured, we will have top 8 somewhere, and that is very exciting to me, especially because we have at least 5 teams, maybe 6. Who knows what Fisher's doing with their lineup right now? That are very, very exciting. And I am looking forward to watching whether it's Maryville, SLU, Winthrop, St. Thomas, Ole Miss, and then some of the other sleepers. Fisher, St. Clair always puts out a very solid team. And then like teams like Western, like Toronto, they're like some of those Canadian teams, the Western teams as well, like UCSD. Like there's a ton of really, really good players on really, really good teams. And with the way that especially the top of the table is built, like we have the opportunity to build some really great storylines going into what could be one of the best top 8s ever in
yeah,
CLOL. And so I really hope that we get something like that.
I agree. Grapes, I have to ask, did you crop somebody out of that photo at the bottom, or is that how that
No,
photo
no,
came?
I don't know what you're talking about. It looks
Oh
great.
man.
This is what the photo looks like. Shout out to all the team at
Oh, okay.
all 3 of the photographers that were working with us that
Yeah.
weekend. They got us some really good
These
shots.
photos are amazing. Yeah,
They're
these
keeping
are
my resume
genuinely
alive for years.
to really quick talk up the people that take pictures at Riot Games Arena. These are my favorite photos of myself that have been taken all year. I sent these to everyone that I knew, and I was like, "Look how cool my life is." So thank you. It was really amazing. But that
Oh, I'm trying to
and
find the name
again,
of the person.
hey, Grapes, CLOL 2024 could be the greatest CLOL of all time if we're involved as well. Eh?
Yeah. New production company as well, running the broadcast, GG Tech,
Yeah,
and Uni Esports. So,
yeah,
they did some cool things with us for the CLO warm up tournament that Waterloo won. Another team that you
true.
should keep your eyes
Yeah,
on. For
yeah, you got to
maybe
cast
making their
that.
way towards the top of the table. Yeah, I mean, and getting to work with them was a lot of fun. They seem very professional, and I'm excited that we have an organization that at least cares a little bit more than maybe some of the other people that were running at least the first rounds of the broadcast last year. That's where we'll leave it for there.
Based,
Hopefully
yeah.
Collegiate is great. But let's talk about our last wish here, Hawk, for 2024. We want some exciting players to pop up because, of course, this is the developmental scene. We want to see some players develop.
Yep. I want to see a name that I've never heard of come out of nowhere. I want to see a name that I'm excited about become a household name. That's always my favorite part of every year is seeing the players that we're talking about. I mean, I feel like half the people right now that are on like our Challengers League radar, we weren't even talking about at the beginning of last year, and it's just so cool seeing these players step up. Names come and go all the time. And it's always sad to see names go, but it's always amazing to see someone come up and really make a name for themselves because that at the end of the day is what it's all about. And whether these players are trying to go pro or they're just here for the competition or here to make friends, who knows. I always love getting to see some young person have that chance to be in the limelight. And I think that's one of the greatest things about what we do, especially in the qualifiers, but in the NACL as well. There's so much room for it. And yeah, I mean, who's going to make their name next? You never know.
Yeah, the phrase we always use is the path to pro, and not all of the paths to pro look the same. You
Yeah.
could be around for a while, you could rise up quickly. I just love watching these players kind of take their own path. And obviously, situations are very different than they have looked in the past. I mean, we've gone from 100 full-time positions in North American esports for players to fully devote their time to essentially 40, because I don't think even the challenger rosters for the LCS affiliates necessarily are offering like a full-time livable wage anymore. But even with that kind of being in place, with less of those opportunities being available, getting to follow these players over the course of next year is something I'm very excited to do. And I hope the players are willing to take on that challenge as well, because it's going to come down to us as a community kind of keeping this scene alive for where we are at right now. And we have a chance to do that, and I'm excited to kind of lead that charge in a way, or help that kind of go along the way as we go into next year. Because a lot of question marks entering 2024. I think it's no secret in saying that, whether it's the two teams leaving the LCS, or kind of whatever's going to happen in the space below that. But we have the opportunity to kind of band together and make sure that we have a very successful 2024, or at least do everything in our power to do that, to have that be the case.
And I think at the end of the day, that really is our holiday wish. Everyone talks about esports winter, and things have definitely been hard recently. But I mean, my friend, we have right now the opportunity. We're celebrating our 1 year of episodes. Episode 35.
Yeah.
We've reached the end. We have a whole new season ahead of us. It all starts over again. We could finally start reusing some of our content ideas.
Yeah,
not all of them. Don't worry, we won't phone it in.
Yeah, well, actually, it'll
But,
be every episode is the exact same.
Right? Yeah, we
thing
did.
in order.
Oh my god, no.
No,
But we got a lot on the horizon, and for as difficult as things have been, I mean, it's even sitting down and recording this that like I still find myself getting so excited for esports. And it's been a roller coaster for the last couple months, at least for me. Has been for you too. You basically finished your last real semester of college, dude. Like,
we're all over the place here,
Yeah.
the two of us, and that's just kind of metaphorical to how esports ends up going.
But yeah, but now we're here, and there's still something to look forward to. And even though we may not know what the future holds, Salty Runback's not going anywhere, y'all. So,
yeah,
we'll
be
I
back.
can't wait.
We have some fun content plans
Yes, we
for leading up to the NACL season, which we believe starts around that January 20th date. Of course, not entirely sure just yet, but
I'd be
we'll
surprised
figure
if it
that
didn't.
out. But yeah, we'll have content leading up to that, and then our first official full episode of the 2024 season will likely be that week going into the 20th. But keep an eye out for content at the start of 2024, because we will have some of that as well. But that is going to do it, Hawk, for our final episode of 2023. Man, 35 weeks. We've been doing this, whether it's this. We also had like our CLOL file episodes, which didn't count as official episodes. But overall, I just want to say great time, and I've had a great time every time we've kind of logged on, clicked the record button, and got to talk about some League of Legends. And I hope all the viewers at home enjoyed that just as much as we did.
Yeah, there's truly, we don't do it for this necessarily, right? Like, we do it for ourselves. We do it to have an outlet to talk about the scene that we love. But I don't think there were very few things more rewarding this year than having a player or a personality, or anyone, a fan in the scene, talk to us about something that happened or that we said on Salty Runback. It always brought a smile to my face when someone would flame me for one of my takes on the show, because it meant that like they watched the show and they cared enough to flame me, because that's what it's all about. That's what we love. That's why I tell you all at the end of every week to take it with a grain of salt, because hey, we don't know everything, but it's a great time anyway. And Merry Christmas, my friend. Happy holidays to everyone out there. And I hope everyone has a great holiday season. Hope everyone has a great 2024. Happy New Year. Be safe. Have a great time. I've been Hawk. That's been Grapes. Make sure you follow us on our social media.